Hello, welcome to the 1878 FM podcast. Myself, Ped, Sam and Dave. It's a full house. Boys,
We've risen.
Are we good? Are we good?
All good, thank you. Happy Easter eggs and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah, all good in this world.
Excellent.
Very good, very good. Feeling good, feeling rested and ready to go.
Love it, Sam.
That wasn't what you were saying off camera, though.
Yeah,
No,
actually,
but
it's not how I'm feeling. Actually, I feel like I've, you know, when you rest and you think I shouldn't have bothered. I feel worse now. That's how I feel.
just pause that thought. We come back to that.
Yeah.
We come back to that. I mean, Sam, how was your slide last week, by the way, just before we get into the football?
My slide was very good.
Was it?
Well, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, I suppose you go for the views and you stay for the slide, and the views were the day we went up. Just to give context, if people don't know what I'm talking about,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I mean, I'm not sure I do.
I mean, literally, Dave rang you, so he should know. But carry on, it doesn't matter. Carry on.
Yeah, I thought, oh my God, something terrible's happened. Dave phones me and goes, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I get there's some kind of weird conversation going on here about my age." So it's the Olympic Park. It's not the Olympic Park, the Olympic Stadium. So West Ham's ground, as it is now, there's like a sculpture that goes dead high, like above the ground, and then there's like this tunnel slide that goes down.
Well, it was where the Olympic torch was, wasn't it?
Is that it? Right,
That's
you know
what
more
it
than
was,
me.
yeah.
I just turned up and went down the slide. But you're
That's
on the
fine.
slide for 40 seconds.
Right.
So
It's quite a long time, isn't it?
It is a long time, and I was squealing all the way down like a I don't want to assign a gender, like a little kid, let's say, and I got to
Like
the
a
bottom.
non-specific child.
Yeah, which is what my school report described me as, actually. Which is probably why I've taken up comedy, to try and get noticed, based on that. But the slide, you go down 40 seconds down the slide, and then my kids went down, and they slowed down because apparently there's all these heaters on the slide, so it doesn't get too hot and too cold. So they went down again. We were there ages. The view was terrible because it was dead cloudy. But yeah, it was good. It was a good little way to spend the morning.
Do many people go on holiday to East London?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it's not one of the getaways, is it?
No.
But we, you know,
Sam, I've spent a night not too far from there, mate, when I went to watch ABBA Voyage, which is right by there, obviously, right by West Ham's ground.
Yeah, saw that.
Is it Voyage or Voyage? I thought it was ABBA Voyage.
I was making it just a little bit of je ne sais quoi about it.
The
Voyage.
gated community call it Voyage.
ABBA Voyage.
Is it ABBA? I thought it was a bar.
It's ABBA Voyage. It's not Voyage.
No, mate, Vu, like,
I thought it was ABBA Voyage. I've
Well,
not
let's
seen it,
do.
though.
Voyage.
you're talking to us about wrestling, and you're like bloody going to see 4 holograms dancing around.
Proper songs.
Yeah, no, but it's still 4 holograms.
Not four.
You know what I mean?
It's not men, grown men with knickers on.
But they're real men. You went to see 4 holograms.
No. No.
But I'm being honest here.
Different world.
It's not a different. Yeah, quite literally the virtual world.
Wrestle.
The virtual world.
Taking over Netflix. It's a disgrace.
As opposed to 4 holograms taking over
It's
London.
a disgrace, as Mikel
Well,
would say.
Sam goes down the slide.
Or as Baz will pronounce it, it's the disgrace.
The scratch, actually, Sam.
Whilst you were on your slide.
Doesn't really work. That. You've ruined it. You've ruined it. Well, fair. I'm glad you had a good time, Sam. I'm glad you had a good time.
We did other stuff. It wasn't just the slide. Like,
Did you go to the big shopping centre?
no,
Westfield?
we didn't.
No,
we didn't.
Okay.
We went next to it, but we weren't in East London that long. We just went there for the slide.
Well, feels like you're blagging us now, but fair play. I liked it.
Just trying to climb out of the hole of Douglas.
Climb up the slide you were on. The slippery slope, Sam. Are we having that?
It is.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
All
too
right.
slippery when I went on, but I think that's more to do with the weight I've gained. But we can get onto that.
We'll get onto that in a bit. There was a game of football at the weekend. Everton unfortunately lost to Manchester City, 2-0. What were your overall thoughts about the game, David? To start with you.
My overall thoughts about the game were that I think, like all of us, the fact that we're disappointed to have lost 2-0 to Man City is a measure of how far we have come in recent times. I thought that the 2-0 scoreline flattered them hugely because I didn't think that they were too goals better than us, at the risk of stating the obvious. I think we had our chances. We didn't take them. I think that Tarkowski's injury was pivotal in the whole game. I would argue that we wouldn't have lost it had he not gone off the pitch. And I think looking at the positives, and I don't mean to be cruel here, but in the way that Michael Keane came on for Tarkowski in that situation, I think that looking at the positives, it has told us, and in particular David Moyes, everything he needs to know about that player and that player's future with the club. And I think that was a positive situation. I think we can now all agree that in hindsight, maybe Patterson should have come on at right back and O'Brien should have gone to centre half. And I suspect that that is what we will see at the weekend and for the remainder of the season. So all in all, disappointed, but not the end of the world. And these are all learnings for next season as we ramp up to a bright new future.
Okay, very good. Sam?
I mean, yeah, Dave's nailed it there. I was at one point I was thinking I'm going to be really disappointed when this finishes 0-0, and obviously it didn't finish 0-0. So then I was even more disappointed. But there was times of the game where it was quite dull, quite boring. I find City's build-up play, especially this season, because they're not really firing on all cylinders. I find their build-up play, which is kind of, you know, a lot of teams try and emulate. I find it quite dull and pedestrian anyway, just because the patterns of play that they have, and if they're not really they're not pulling up on the trees this season, so it's even more dull. They had a lot of the ball. We started to get the couple of half chances when we hit the post in the first half. I thought we could nick this here because and it wouldn't be like a smash and grab. It'd be like, you know, we're in the game. We're not like they're not having loads of like clear cut chances or anything. And then the substitution, like Dave said, happens. And I mean, I was gutted for Tarkowski. I'm sure some of the players that he's done over the season are probably looking at that going, well, he probably deserves that. But then Michael Keane comes on, and I'm thinking that like the obvious for me would have been to bring Patterson on and move Jacob Brien over. But I put this joke on. It was a joke, but it was genuinely serious on social media after the game. And I was on the toilet once years ago, and a wasp had flown through the window, and I was trying to like get the wasp to go back out the window with this rolled up copy of Viz. And I couldn't do it. And even in that moment...
He changed the name in the magazine, didn't he, for this podcast?
Yeah, 100% he did.
Totally. I mean, he's rehearsed this little bit of the story, hasn't he? Honestly.
Wasn't rolled up.
Over the years.
It was more just stuck together. But I still look more comfortable trying to do that than Michael Keane looked when he came on. Just straight away, he's on and he's getting booked. There was that header that he got completely wrong. And he's just all over the place. So, you know, he's clearly way below what we need and what we require. And like Dave said, I think if there's, you know, you've got to look for positives, haven't you? And you've got to think, well, you know, hopefully that is just reinforced that he can't stay at the club next season. The final thing I would say about it is that it's, if we were still pushing for you know, I know we're trying to get as high up the league as we can, but if we were still genuinely pushing for something, that game, I would have been devastated at the end of that game because I thought we were totally in it till they scored.
Yeah, disappointing. That was just a disappointing game, wasn't it? But it does. I think it gives us all of the pointers to what we should be doing for the rest of the season and start weeding out these players. I thought it was a mad sub. I thought it was a mad sub at the time. Didn't think anyone needed to test Michael Keane, but why not? I just did. I think everyone around me was shocked when it wasn't Patterson and we didn't just make the easy change. But yeah, there you go. I mean, we're all disappointed we got beat by the current champions, and I think that's a testament to where we are with Moyes, and hopefully it continues that we improve, and he gets an opportunity now to have a look at different scenarios, different players. He's had Brozier for the last two. I don't think it's worked. I think that needs to be looked at now. I just don't think that's worked. And Brozier's not a centre forward in this team. Maybe in another team he would be, but not in this team. So, yeah, it's an opportunity now for the next few games. Got a couple of tough away games, but then there's 3 in the middle of them which are very, very winnable. But Chelsea's winnable as well, Saturday. That's winnable. I'm not convinced by them either. So, yeah, he's got an opportunity now, and we just hope that Tarkowski isn't too long.
You see him back this season.
Well, I was just thinking it'd be a shame if he sort of missed the last game at Goodison at least.
Yeah.
The other ones you think, well, it doesn't really matter. But he's got essentially a month, hasn't he, till the last game at Goodison. So he might.
As it's not a bad team.
He might make it. He might not. It doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it'd be a shame if he missed the game. So we'll wait and see.
He looked devastated when he came off, didn't he? He looked absolutely gutted.
I think he's either 2 or 3 short of breaking a record. 2 was it, but breaking a record for most consecutive games and minutes played and all that. So
Didn't know that.
Would have been a Premier League record. And obviously he looked devastated, didn't he? And again, it was almost a nothing thing, wasn't it? Just stretching for a long ball. And the hamstring went, which is never good, but hopefully, we obviously wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. We're not going to probably hear anything about it for a couple of days till David Moyes faces the press, and then we might know a little bit more. Hopefully it's not a bad one, and like Ped said, he can be available for that Southampton game, the last game of the season at Goodison, last ever game at Goodison, of course. Just going on to the squad, obviously, me and Ped discussed this yesterday about players having an opportunity between now and next season. And just like something you said there, Sam, it is important that we finish as high as we can, monetary-wise. But you're right, if we'd have been chasing a European place or something and Saturday would have happened, we'd be devastated, because that was sort of, they weren't at the best. They were without 3 of their best players, obviously the goalkeeper Rodri and Haaland. It felt like they were there to be got at, and we just fell a little bit short. But with that in mind, with 5 games to go, it is an opportunity for, say, Nathan Patterson, isn't it? It is an opportunity, and maybe someone like Yusuf Chimiti. Me and Ped spoke about this on the final word. It's like, where does he stand? Because this is a lad that hasn't... Me and James went through the games he's played for Everton, and he's had 22 appearances for Everton, but his minutes add up to less than, or just 2 games, I think it is, overall. A lot of those appearances were 1 minute and 2 minutes and 8 minutes. So I think those 2 in particular, for very different reasons, actually. Nathan Patterson, to see whether he has a future at Everton Football Club or not. And Yusuf Chimiti, to see whether or not Everton try to get him a loan next season, if he's not going to be considered to be one of David Moyes' main strikers. So what do you think about that? Start with Dave first.
Yeah, I mean, the simple thing is that we haven't seen enough of Chimiti, have we? And
No.
and we would hope that actually there's something there, and actually some game time and some confidence would actually bring that out. That's a big unknown. We could be sitting on a player there for all we know. In terms of Patterson, likewise, Patterson just hasn't had the time, has he? I mean, when I've seen him come on, he has looked a bit nervous in the past, but I can put that down to the fact that I think that, there's a lot of expectation on him when he comes on, and he's maybe, overawed by that slightly. But I'm hoping that, the one good thing with the Tarkowski injury, if Jacob Brien goes to centre half, which I'm sure that he will do, then it will actually, the big one for me in terms of what that injury will offer up in terms of opportunity will be for Patterson, and actually get a little run now towards the end of the season. Which will be important, and it should be enough time now for us and for Moyes to decide whether he is, does have a future as right back in that position.
Yeah, and also as well, Sam, to see Jake O'Brien at centre back, to see whether or not David Moyes looks at him and thinks you are actually a centre back, or whether David Moyes thinks, I think I want another centre back in, and you're probably going to be me right back. Yeah. So those 3 players, what do you think of that?
Well, that's what I was thinking about Jacob Bryan, because actually on Saturday against Man City, there was a couple of times where he got done, didn't he? Down there, left or right, in a way that I've not seen him. Kind of just a little trick, a little drop of the shoulder, and the play was past him. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he's like at centre half. I think with Chimiti, I mean, all solid Premier League players are valuable, but if you've got someone who can score a goal, we've seen how difficult that can be. if you've got someone who can score a goal, Chimiti, we haven't seen enough of. And I think it'd be great for him and potentially long-term great for the club if, we're going to finish between 13th and 17th. That's, and I know there's like 8 million in prize money up for grabs between those spaces. So it's not to be sniffed at, but we're not trying to get into Europe. We're not trying to avoid relegation. If Brogue's not working, we've seen that it's not working. Calvert-Lewin's still injured. Beto's, I'm not sure about. He had that little purple patch, didn't he? But if the manager says to Chimiti, you've got till the end of the season now, I'm going to play you in every game and let's just see what happens, and just give him the confidence that he doesn't need to have a 10 out of 10 game first match in and then get yanked. He can, he can sort of grow his way into the team. And a similar way with Nathan Patson as well, because I know like when Dyche was the manager, I was clamouring for Patson to be played. And it just seemed like the manager didn't fancy him. As we've seen with Jacob Brien, that was clearly a bad decision. But with Patterson, it's almost like Moyes doesn't seem to trust him as well. And they're bringing on a Michael Keane on Saturday. I know afterwards he said, didn't he? He said, it would have been too many positions being changed. But I don't know if I bought that, to be honest.
No, I didn't buy it.
I think if he's not fancying Patson as well, and then you got two managers who've looked at Patson and gone, not sure. I don't know. Maybe if that's the case, he needs to be moved on from the football club, doesn't he? Because he's not gonna get into the team or even be a useful squad player. So maybe with both of them, it's a case of just giving them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. I think as a striker, I think that's where you really, really benefit from understanding that you can grow your way into the team. And I think I'd love to see Timothy get some game time.
Because I think I had to bring you in here because I think we know what Beto's all about. So we're not gonna. And I like Beto. I think he's a squad player. I think he's a decent squad striker. He's proved he can score in the Premier League. So we know what he is. But you're looking at him, we're not really going to learn any more about Beto. We know, we've seen him now. Brogue, I think there's a player in there, but I do not think he's a number 9 in Everton's team. I really don't. He drops too deep for me, and we need someone who's going to stretch people. Dom, who knows if he's ever going to be available for Everton again? I don't know. Don't really care now because he's shown little interest, it seems, in staying at this minute. Could change, of course it could. But Yusuf Chimiti is the one there who, he's still contracted for under a few years. He looks like he's got a lot of potential, but we haven't seen him get a few games. So is it worth sort of going, he's the one we need to see more of? Because we do need to make a decision about his career to protect us as well, not whether or not he makes it at Everton, but whether, if you give him, say, 3 games near the end of the season, whether he's actually good enough to play at that level. What do you think?
I think the most important thing is that Chimiti, you have to prove that the system works. The system of going to buy a young player from a club abroad, bringing them into the club, giving them opportunities, maybe in the under-21s or just bringing them through and them getting them into the first team. And then the next step is that they do so well that other clubs want to buy them for a higher price. Now, that's then up to you what you want to do with that player. But that surely has to be the route. It can't just be dismissed like many others have. I was just looking then at something about like players who were going to be released in this summer, and one of them's Mason Holgate. Who you completely forget about. And Mason Holgate is a
still
player
alone, isn't he?
Yeah, is a player that obviously came to Everton for a really low fee, got elevated into the squad quite quickly, maybe without the grounding, and then obviously has had various amounts of success and failures. But he'll leave this summer and he'll go out with an absolute whimper, and he'll have lost most of his career to just not being part of Everton's team and being on loan and stuff. And you think, well, what was the... Surely that must be seen at the football club as a massive failure, because the plan has got to be bring these kids in young, and if they don't do it, then at least get some money for them, within a couple of years or 2 or 3 years. And that's the way I look at Chimiti is that we paid £12 million for him. There was a lot of talk when he came in. Surely the club have got to be trying to promote this idea. I know the person who bought him is going to leave the football club, and it's changed time and time again, but surely there's got to be an underlying ethos at the football club to buy young players and push them through the system so that they end up first team players, and everything should be done in everyone's power to make that happen, I think. And I know it's not on David Moyes to do that, but when you look at the choices he's got, they're not exactly players that he actually. One will go back on from his loan. One's leaving on a free, and Beto, he doesn't. I don't think he particularly thinks he's that good a footballer. So I'm not saying put your eggs in one basket, but there's an opportunity to see him now and show that this player has got something. But it's up to the lad, because he wasn't on the bench at the weekend, and that maybe says something about how hard he's working in training and how much the manager wants him to be to do. And it's on him, as it always should be. But we've got to have some kind of route for these players if we're bringing them in.
Yeah, I mean, Dave.
No, I agree, and I just, I think we have to take the opportunity to look at him, because, with what Sam said, there's no reason why we shouldn't. This is the perfect opportunity when there's nothing at stake to actually have a look and see whether he's worth keeping. Just hope that actually, some game time, some confidence, maybe a goal or two, and actually we see something different. I agree with you in terms of the fact that I don't think that, I think we could watch Beto every week, and this isn't a criticism of him, but I think we could watch him for, sort of 10 games on the trot, and I don't think we'd learn anything different at this point now that we don't already know.
And that's it, isn't it? It's the thing is, the manager, again, I think sometimes David Moyes says things and you know exactly what he means without him saying it. I don't think he's been massively over-impressed with Beto. Yeah. But that's not saying he doesn't think Beto's not useful and all that. And I think David Moyes will want better than that as well, of course. But Chimiti, I think, because of the attributes, 6'4", he's mobile, he's got good touch, he can dribble. I think that kind of player sort of would suit if you can get more. But that's it. But he's got to earn it, like Ped said. If there's 3 right backs on the bench and you're not in there's only 1 striker and you're not in that squad, you've got to look at what have I done? Have I worked hard enough this week? We've had Jordan Pickford talking about what David Moyes has instilled since he come in, and winning every day in training's important, and that you've got to fight and you train how you play and all of that stuff. And I think the top teams don't need that instilling in them. That's just part of their culture. But Moyes certainly, for Pickford to come out and sort of reference that quite clearly, Moyes has sort of made that an important sort of thing that they have to do. And someone like Yusuf Chimiti, he might be a little bit. He's a young player, so he might be a little bit disheartened because he's not had that experience of being the striker, playing, then being out and being. He might think, I'm not getting a go. But he's got to fight through that. He's got an opportunity now, I think, with a few games left. Everton is safe. Now, I know David Moyes was, we've known we were safe for a month, haven't we, all us? Of course we have. But he was erring on the side of caution. Well, that's been over this weekend. That was done as well, mathematically. Yeah. So he can't say now, I'm still worried and all of that stuff. So therefore, for me, Yusuf Chimiti, I think, has got to be given a couple of those games. And we have a look at him and see whether or not he's got it. Because I do think to protect the asset, if you like, we have to know what we're doing with him. He's played very little football in his career, even for Sporting. Most of his appearances for Sporting were sub. So this isn't a lad that's played 30, 40 games that he started. This is a kid that has had bits of games. And a year ago we had to play, didn't he, against Brentford, because Beto was concussed and Dom was injured. And he did quite well. And that was it. That was his only start.
And he looked good in the summer.
In the summer he looked sharp. So I think Everton and I think David Moyes could do worse than giving him a few games now and letting him bed in and see what he's like. And then we can make that decision come the summer. Because I heard Jamie Carragher talking, I'm saying this to Ped yesterday, Jamie Carragher talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold over the weekend, saying he's not staying. Therefore, the league's done now, so virtually. So therefore, Liverpool shouldn't start him now because they know he's going and they need to decide whether Conor Bradley or whatever, whether he's the answer or whether they need to go and buy a new one or whatever. No point playing Trent because you're not going to learn anything. Well, I think Everton are in that situation with a couple of their players. I think the Corey, I get it. Moyes likes his work rate and stuff, but I think someone like Alcaraz as well. But you made a really good point yesterday. He could ride out the next game or so and then start Alcaraz in every game and still wouldn't hit the marker for him to be an obligation. And that might give David Moyes more of an idea of what Charlie's all about as well, whether or not it's worth paying that money. Because the points, of course, they matter. I think the Echo done something. I think it's around £3 million a place. So it is important.
It is.
In as high. But like I don't know what you two, and I want to come to you two, lads, about this. Because me and James have been on this train as well. Are these players we're talking about really that bad that it means Everton can't win games? You know what I mean? If Chimiti came in instead of Brozier or Beto, does that mean Everton have got no chance of scoring a goal? If Patterson come in, and he's got to now, because we were talking about this the other week, Ped, with me, and it was, well, do you take Tarkowski out? Well, he's going to be out for a few games. And is Alcaraz, get me words out, is Alcaraz really that much worse a footballer than Decore?
Yeah.
So what do you three think? You two, and then we can come to Ped on that.
Is it Bono?
It is. Think about those three players. Is their level really that much lower than the lads who are starting every week that it would jeopardise Everton having the opportunity to win games? What do you think about that?
Go on, Dave.
I was going to let you go first, Sam.
Oh, okay, go on then. That's why we're not first team regulars. We just can't take a challenge. I think that the players that you've outlined there, none of them have really, Decore aside, obviously he's had a huge impact, like at moments, hasn't he? And he's a player, I think. Well, let me start with Brozier. Brozier's had no impact on Everton Football Club, really. So we're not going to miss him. No. Obviously, Jacob Brien has had a great time since he came into the team. So you're looking at Nathan Patton, what can he do? But ultimately, Everton's an experiment, isn't it? If you're bringing a player in who's barely played, you just got to see how they cope in a situation on the pitch. You know, whether it's against, we've got Ipswich and Southampton coming to Goodison, haven't we? So I mean, they're both down. They're both awful. So let's, experiment a little bit. With Decore's a funny one. And I just wanted to say, because I wasn't here last week, but that celebration against Forest, where he did the contract thing, I just thought it was so funny. It was great. And funnily, because he's a player that probably, I think as Everton fans, we all agree he's on too much money for what he provides. But the way he did it, and I think even he was sort of doing it tongue in cheek, wasn't he? I don't think it was the way he was doing the phone thing to his head and stuff. But it'd be interesting to see us play a longer period without Decore, because as much as he's, people can get on his case a little bit, because he treats the ball like a hot scone that's been passed to him, and he's like, ooh, ha, ha. He just can't keep it under control. But he never stops, does he? And the goal against Forest was a great example of that, where he's still the furthest player forwards right at the end of the game, closes players down. But take him out the team for a little bit and see how Alcaraz can get on with a little bit of a run, because he's kind of been cameo roles. And I don't know whether that's related to I've read all sorts of different reports on, if he plays this amount of minutes, his contract gets activated, or if he uses a certain shower of Finch Farm, we have to pay $8 million to his parent club, So I think it's time to experiment, isn't it? Without being ridiculous and playing Pickford up front.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, to your original point, Baz, in terms of are they on a level which is, going to cost us points? I know we're safe, and I know that in many ways we haven't got anything to play for, bar the fact that obviously every place is worth significant amounts of money. Yeah, I think simplistically, I think we just have to take the opportunity to have a look at these players while we have the luxury of being in that situation to do so. Yeah. Right. And it's as simple as that. We do have that situation. And again, as we said last week, it's not so much about the rest of this season for us. It's about using the rest of this season as being a warm-up or an extension of next season by way of preparation. Yeah. That's what this time has got to be used for. I mean, I think that Alcaraz and Decore are totally different players. I wouldn't necessarily see them as being completely interchangeable. I mean, Decore is a difficult one for me because he's on too much money, but he undoubtedly does have an impact when he comes on. And he wouldn't be, if it wasn't for the financial situation, he wouldn't be one that I would necessarily be pushing towards the exit door straight away. Do you know what I mean? So he is a difficult one, and obviously he knows the situation, and he's playing at the moment. You know, he's in the shop window, and he's upped his game. I mean, he had that. He obviously scored against Forest. He had the chance on Saturday as well. He looks full of confidence. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely Chimiti should start. And we need to have a proper look at him and give him some proper time to actually sort of find his feet. Patterson is the same situation as well for me.
I mean, with the core iPad, he is, it is a weird one, isn't it? I mean, I look at the numbers and think he's basically a second striker. Yeah. He's played 27 games or something this season. He's got 3 goals. Yeah. So he's had no real impact at all. He scored a late goal at Forest. He works his socks off, no problem about that. He runs around. I think he's probably, I've felt for a while, he's better deeper. I thought last year when he actually went in the 2 with the Idrissa, he was miles better in that role because he covers so much ground, nicks the ball and stuff. I actually like Alcaraz off the striker because he can run with the ball, he commits players. You can't deny the Corey's energy. Last week at Forest, the run was brilliant for the goal, breaking in the 94th minute the way he did. None of our midfielders do that. But what would you do with the Corey? Because clearly we ain't giving him the same contract he's on now. No. It's because it'd just be ridiculous. Yeah. But Dave and Sam are right, aren't they, in a way, is that he isn't. If he was at another year, I don't think any of us would be saying sell him this summer. Would we? You just go, he's a good squad player. Now, do I want to see him in the team every week? Probably not, because I want us to look after the ball better. But do I think he's useful? Absolutely, because he can do a couple of roles.
I think people have got to temper their expectations for next season. I think some people believe there's going to be a massive overhaul of the team and the squad, and I just don't think there will be. I think we've got to be careful that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think someone like him would be useful to keep him in the squad for another year. Replace his position, and hopefully over the year you sort of get one of those sliding doors moments where someone comes in and takes his place and he goes the other way. But I just think that to take a player out, I've said this numerous times, to take a player out who plays week in and week out and just remove him from the squad, I find that quite dangerous. Because you don't know whether you're going to get a replacement for him, and you don't know how that replacement's going to work. And
isn't he very popular? Sorry, Ped, just to jump in. Isn't he very popular, like around the squad and stuff as well? I've read. I don't know whether the rest of the squad, like, kind of,
Yeah, but so would Sidney Sweeney. Doesn't mean I'm going to sign it.
You should, though, to be fair.
To be fair, yeah.
You should.
No, I totally agree. I think he's someone I would definitely keep for another year. And people just got to remove this idea of, like, honestly, that it's going to be 11 new players next season. I don't think it will be. I just don't think it will be. But I don't think we've got the money.
We haven't got the players.
I don't think we've got the money to go.
I think it's 5.
I just think there needs to be a bedding-in period for some of the players. Patterson coming in, Jacob Brien is another one that you look at. But I just think, like, the idea of people thinking, we're going to get a new left-back and they're going to start, we're going to get, like, 3 new midfielders. I don't think
don't get me wrong.
No, but, like, for every
9 fit.
But for every Decore that stays, means that you can concentrate on those positions, those wingers. If you can put more money into getting a right winger because you've kept the core, and maybe then you put money into a young player who can, like we were talking before, it's another year for Tim Mirabunum to settle in a little bit. He doesn't look quite ready for it yet. And again, I know people have got expectations. He doesn't look ready. We've got to be honest about this.
Son was brilliant.
Yeah, but we've got to be honest about the situation. He's playing in the Championship. He'd be stepping up to the Premier League. He'd take a year. And we have to be so. We have to be very honest about the situation, and the Corey.
So do you think then gut feeling, does the Corey stay?
I think he does.
What about Idrissa? Because we had that story last week that he's got.
I think Idrissa will probably stay as well, but if he gets a massive offer from Saudi Arabia... See, the thing about it is, with Idrissa Gana Gueye, or any of these players, when you talk about something like Saudi Arabia, these people have got kids as well, though. You know, you're uprooting your kids. I don't know exactly how old his kids are. They already in school, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot, you know, to uproot your kids for a couple of years. You know, he lives settled in Manchester. There's a lot of different things. I know it's a lot of money. Could change his life, change his kid's life forever. So that's a decision he has.
See, Idrissa for me could go to Saudi. I think the offers will still be there in a year. And he'd still go and piss it. Because he's pissing the Premier League at 35. So
I hope they both stay. I really do.
Yeah, but it's going to be. It is going to be interesting. I think you get them and their wages down, then it isn't such a big thing then when they're on the bench either. Because it's again the true. I don't know whether you lads agree, but the sort of true evidence of a squad improving and a team improving is these lads who start become your subs,
exactly,
and then you get rid of them. That's the true evolve. Our club evolves, and I understand what you're saying. He's playing every week, and the next week he's not here. Yeah. Does happen, of course it happens, and you know, Man City are proving that with Kevin De Bruyne, obviously. But Everton, you know, the fans did the best to show him that Goodison might be home for him next season, and he's come out and said some very nice things about Everton afterwards. So maybe there's a conversation there for De Bruyne. Maybe he wants to come and play with Ghana. Who knows? Or Beto. We just don't know, do we? Maybe he spoke to Rom. And Rom said, listen, Goodison or Everton is the home of Belgians. Get yourself there.
That's partly true.
Big Kev Morales will be in on the blower.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, David Hennon will be the one I think De Bruyne goes to. Who?
Ola Mangala.
And Mangala will be like, let's do it. And get yourself there, lad. Get yourself. It's a boss place. So we'll see. Who knows?
Onana.
Amadou will be I'm sure Everton will be the first place he recommends.
Of course.
He was giving it all that for Villa at the weekend. You know?
Just that for
but he is good. Yeah, so Kevin De Bruyne to Everton. You just don't know. Okay. Who knows? He might end up there. Right, just a little gear change.
Hey.
Got a video from an ex-1870. It's like a...
On loan?
No, it's like, you know, the way the president's always called posters when they're not. Andy Bush has sent us a video, so let's have a look at that.
Andy Bush here. How's it going, gang? I miss you all. I hope you are well. Richie and I, from our home time show on Absolute Radio, you've heard it right, are going to be doing a 200-mile plus bike ride for our charity Cash for Kids. We're going to be cycling from the good old Goodison Park, the Old Lady, all the way down to the Emirates in North London. Over 3 days. We're going to be averaging about 60-odd miles a day. It's going to be pretty full on. We're going to be doing our radio show from Goodison Park on the Monday evening before we set off on the Tuesday morning next week, which will be cool. So that'll be a final chance for me to say goodbye to the old lady and have a little look around Goodison. I felt very fortunate to do the Goodison sleep out. I got to have a little crawl around the park end where no one was there, cleaning my teeth in the park end at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is an amazing thing. But yeah, if anyone would like to sponsor us, we'd really appreciate that. It's absoluteradio.co.uk/bike. I know Mr. Dave Vitti is a bit of a biking pro, I see him posting stuff on Instagram a lot about being in woodland clearings at the weekend with other like-minded adults in Lycra in the early evening. So maybe Dave's got some biking tips, but any tips would be hugely welcome. And if you can support us, we'd really appreciate it. Hope you're well, and up the Toffees.
Cheers, Andy. The Lycra is on. Well, Dave, I feel like we've got to come to you first because he did call you out in the video.
Yeah,
the Lycra wearing brother. So, A, do you frequent woods in your Lycra? And B, have you got any biking tips for Mr. Bush?
I'm not embarrassed to say that I do frequent woods in my Lycra, but always with a bicycle. Because if you do it without a bicycle, you look very, very strange indeed, I think. Right? Always with the bike. Interestingly, though, actually, the other week I was out in woods in my Lycra, and actually I was out for hours, and I stopped for a wee, right? As is the natural thing. So I dumped my bike. As in I lay it down on the ground, and I went and I found a secluded spot to do the business. And then as I came out, there was a family coming there, and for a moment they couldn't see that I had a bicycle, and they just saw me in Lycra appearing from the bushes, and they looked at me strangely, and I felt odd at the same time. So the bike is key.
But you're wearing a bear mask.
A bear mask, yeah, I know, which in hindsight was a mistake, especially, when they had young children around, but it felt right at the time.
Better a bear mask than a bear bottom.
Absolutely. Yeah. I won't make that mistake again. Do I have any tips? Not really, because, other than just keep hydrated and go at a steady pace, I would say, because it's a long way and you don't want to go off too early, so to speak.
What about the lycra, Dave? Because if it's too tight or if it's too baggy, where does chafage occur?
Chafage?
I don't struggle with chafage because actually the benefits of the lycra is that they have padding around your bottom, right?
Okay.
Which is good for long distance seat issues.
Yeah,
right?
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, I can't say that I've ever experienced lycra chafing, and so far lycra, I've got different lengths. You see, I've got like longies, right, which go down to my ankles, and then I've got short lycra as well. For the warmer months.
I feel like that family must have felt.
Yeah.
Right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
in denial.
like Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Coming at you. Yeah, I've got some of those shorts as well from when I've cycled. The weird, the like.
You cycle?
The ones with the
Did you
straps
cycle?
over, a
I
bit like
did cycle.
lederhosen, aren't they?
No, I haven't got those ones. I've just got the short ones with like the padded arse. Looks like they filled it
Right.
with Lego.
Yeah.
It's a strange one. Yeah.
Fair play.
It's a whole thing, though, isn't it? You've got to get into it like everything else.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure he'll be fine. Not sure about his mate, Jack Cundy, but
Well, Jack,
he's only got little legs.
Well,
and
yeah,
so he'll be quite far behind.
little legs are all right if they're powerful. It's
Yeah.
the power. It's the power.
I think it's a good thing that they're doing, raising funds for a good cause and whatnot. And actually, I think they'll have a laugh. And it's good that Bush gets to go back to Goodison as well one final time as well. as a bonus.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it all starts on Monday. I think they're doing the show from Goodison, so fair play. Although it would have been better if they'd done it the other way. I know that would be uphill, but
should have done it and arrived at Goodison for the Everton Arsenal game the other week. But that's a
Exactly,
different
that would have been good timing, wouldn't it?
That's a different thing. So there you go. If you want to donate to Andy Bush's bike ride, Cash for Kids, we got a link to? As you give us a link to his GoFundMe page or anything? I'm sure it'll be on Twitter.
get on his socials.
I'm on socials there. So go and have a look and donate anything if you can. I'm sure they'll be massively appreciative. Just moving on. Talking of like exercise and getting into shape, I was on Instagram last night and a video popped up.
What were you looking
Not
at?
a video, post popped up.
What were you looking at on Instagram?
Of our very own, just lots
Lots of different things.
Lots
So
of
it's lots to do. No, when you press the search button on Instagram, what generally pops up? Just start.
I'm not saying.
I'm not pressing it.
Is any of it AI?
To be fair, that was tactics. That was pop because I was looking at drills for our kids training.
I'm glad you.
But
Yeah.
normally, it might have been a very different
drills.
It might have been a very different thing that popped up. A lot of AI. Girl,
Yeah, you're not into the AI.
No, it's
Ruining it, isn't it?
It's
You
ruining
don't know
it.
what's real or
Not
what's not
genuine.
real.
But
It's like Abel Voyage, isn't it?
very much like Abba Voyage, AI Voyage. But one thing that did pop up was a post by our very own Samuel Avery
Oh yeah.
about.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah,
Was it AI? Samuel Avery.
It wasn't.
Samuel A. Ivory.
Yeah,
Hey.
that one. Hey.
Big slide.
And bigslide.com.
That's my nickname on Instagram.
Talking about struggling to get his arse in a pair of jeans.
Oh yeah.
Therefore, he was going on a diet because he wants to lose 2 stone.
It's the worst time of the year.
Not sort of like a diet, but, eating healthier and wants to lose weight and all. He's got a big tour.
He is, yeah. I mean,
I know, but I'm going to go to him.
I can see him.
What made it really
I feel like
funny
I'm
was,
on It's a Wonderful Life here and I've died and I'm
Just
watching
listen,
the
Sam.
world without me.
just listen.
through the keyhole. Who lives in a pair of jeans like this?
Remember that when you shut up, I'll carry on. That's fine. Okay, now we can carry on. What was really good was he's done that thing that I think we've all done. Is, want to start that. It's always Monday.
Yeah, gotta be.
If it's Thursday, you go, I'll do that on Monday. On Monday, I'm going to do 50 press-ups a day or whatever. Yoga on Monday, whatever. Sam done it with I'm doing it tomorrow. But he was going out with a big takeaway to finish. I'm having a last hurrah with my big takeaway. So, Sam, where's this come from, apart from the jeans being a little bit snug?
Well,
or is that the motivation?
Well, it's part of, but like everything's smug. It's not smug, snug.
Smug.
Like I'll be smug at the end of this process if it's successful.
Hey.
But you can't buy smug jeans, can you? But you can buy snug jeans. But I think I put some socks on, and even they felt a little bit tight, to be honest. So I think I'm starting to worry about where this is going to end. So
It's
traditionally, I've been I am incredibly, one of the things I'm great at is gaining weight. I think it's one of my attributes. Like if I was, I've got no interest in being an actor, but if someone said to me, there's a role here, but you've got to gain 4 stone to play like an out of shape version of you, I'd be like, sign me up. Because then you'd be on your way to Greg's every morning and people say, are you putting on weight? And you're like, no, I'm in training, aren't I? I'm method acting.
Yeah.
So I can always put weight on very quickly. And what's happened traditionally is I've gone on holiday, all inclusive, and I've just gone bananas on the ale and the food and all of that. And then I've got back and I've reverted back to just being a sensible eater, not drinking that often. You know, work most weekends, so I'm not out boozing.
Were you on an all-inclusive in East London?
That's what
not
I
in
thought.
not in East London, no.
All inclusive down the slide.
Yeah. It was, I mean, an all-inclusive in East London, I don't know how much it would cost because we stopped for like 4 milkshakes and that cost about 86 quid.
Yeah.
So
You'd be done.
I've normally been good at getting home and getting back on the wagon or off the wagon, whatever the good one is.
Yeah.
And
On the wagon.
On the wagon,
yeah.
And what's happened since June last year, I went to Mallorca and then I've had a couple of other holidays and then Christmas and Easter. And I've not actually got back on the wagon. So I've just continued to gain weight. And now it's got to the point where everything's tight. My clothes don't fit. All I can wear is black t-shirts because that's the only thing that I can get into at the moment. So I'm not doing anything drastic. I'm just, because I've been doing loads of exercise. That's not the problem. It's the diet. So I'm on it now. I'm on it. But the last hurrah, you've got to have the last hurrah, haven't you?
You've got to.
Absolutely.
Why is it that we do set the why do we never just go, right, from now I'm doing it? Why is it like next Monday? You know what I mean?
I think it's nice to have it because I'm like that as well. So, you work on things like New Year's, right?
Yeah.
People obviously change things, New Year, new me, all that kind of stuff. And if it's not a new year, then it might be a new month and people do dry January, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a bit like that as well, in so much as if I don't start something right at the beginning of the week, then I'll write the whole week off and wait for the next one to start. Right. So if I have a bad Monday, right, where I do things that I shouldn't do, maybe I'll have a drink, maybe I'll have some chocolate, maybe I'll eat some crisps or whatever. Then I almost think on the Tuesday, there's no point starting now. I might just carry on with this regime and then do a new clean break. I don't know why that is, but I don't think that myself and Sam are unusual in that outlook.
No, definitely not unusual. I was just a shaky bit. Well,
psychiatrists have a field day, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Just have a.
I've heard that a lot of psychiatrists do listen to this podcast.
Yeah,
just
it's number one on the psychiatrist. Well, yeah, to get loads of their research from it, I think.
You're tagging it wrong on YouTube. You should be tagging it in the psychology section or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just mental. It's just a mental preparation, isn't it?
Must be,
Must be mental preparation. I don't know.
But everyone talks about your relationship with food. My relationship is that I absolutely effing love it.
Yeah.
So
that's my relationship with it.
That's tricky. Yeah, but you run a lot, don't you? You're running so.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it.
No,
but I do.
I do.
So you need to bring it up.
So.
I do. I just eat what I want generally. That's that. To be honest, I literally haven't changed my habits at all. I just I've just added exercise to it. And to be honest, I don't even worry about my weight anymore because I just think, well, I'm fit. So that's the way I look at it.
I think I would like to sign up for some kind of long distance run, like somewhere in the future, and actually commit to that. Because I do like running and getting out there and stuff. It's just, to do like a 10K or I did a half marathon, but it was 20 years ago. So I should stop banging on about that. Because I don't think
I reckon you could do it again, though, if you've done it before.
No, you could. Of course you could. Anyone could.
No. By the way, that wasn't that sounded like a joke, and it genuinely wasn't. It was a genuine statement. I think that if you've done it before, I think that you can do it again with a bit of training for sure.
Maybe.
I hate to run.
Do the Great North Run. That's good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I love that. He's just gone. Yeah.
Or you could just run from
to give me runs.
You could run from one tour day to the next.
That'd be a good one.
In some kind of massive PR stunt.
And call it the Running Man Tour.
He'd have to get Thunderstorm out the way first, obviously.
I'd do that. Maybe for the next one, and the poster could just be me wrapped in a big Kit Kat silver thing. See, I've got Kit Kats on the brain. I'm thinking about the end of a marathon silver thing.
And marathon, of course, is now Snickers. So you need to be quiet because you just keep throwing chocolate bars on. You know what I mean? Ped, just before we finish, I feel like we do need a tip update. Because I'm wondering whether you can't have much left in your house to go to tip.
I'm worried.
You've putting in so
I'll
many.
be honest with you,
You've had more appearances at the tip than Chimity.
Do you know what? Right,
for Everton.
I'm gonna
Tippy.
I'm gonna tell you. I went last week and I didn't inform you because I just thought it was becoming too much.
Oh no!
There was too much knowledge.
Too much.
There hasn't been any more tip, but what there has been is there's a new thing this week. Vinted is like going the tip, but you get paid for it.
Okay.
So Vinted is the new one. I'm in the Vinted now. I've found a few bits and pieces, and I've got into the old Vinted, and I'm selling the bits that I could have just thrown away. It takes a little bit more effort, but you get paid for it. So instead of going the bin, the tip, you go the bin. You find your nearest locker or shop, throw it in there. And you're getting paid for it. So instead of throwing it in the tip, you get paid for it. You throw in someone else's house for their house to be covered in shite. It's tremendous. Someone takes your shite off you and pays you for it, and you don't have to go the tip.
Yeah.
I mean, what? That's genius.
Good.
That's genius.
It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean,
I might start just posting my rubbish to other people's letterboxes.
Why don't you start with your next door neighbour?
Joe 90. Poor Joe 90.
Start with him and just see how it goes.
Okay. I'll report back next week. I'll start with my record of achievements.
Do it. I mean, Sam,
Kit Kat wrappers.
We are going to finish now, but we had the conversation. You weren't here last week because you were on a slide. We had the conversation 2 weeks ago about you going to the tip and liking. You assured us you weren't going to do it. We give you how you do that, the breakdown. And then a few days later, you posted the picture on your way to the gym, going the tip. So why did you just blatantly go against the advice of the podcast?
I suppose because I thought this was a podcast and not the Cosa Nostra, where I have to kind of follow the I'm sorry, Father, that I have sinned. I took my kids to the tip the other day. It was Easter Saturday. I took my kids to the tip.
Okay.
And they absolutely hated it, even though they were there for like 4 minutes. And
they're a bit young to appreciate it, aren't they? That's
don't understand the value of throwing your shite out. But I actually said to them at one point, the lads on Toffee TV love this. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. They're not at that level yet, but they will.
Tell them it's like real life Minecraft.
Yeah.
Tell them if they jumped in there and started digging, they'd find all kinds of stuff.
Chicken jockeys.
Yeah, there's loads of chicken jockeys at the tip.
There.
The way they look at you. The way they look at you, you think, you're a chicken jockey, lad.
There's some other jockeys there, I can tell you.
CJ all over.
Right, let's leave it there before we
incriminate ourselves. Or others. Yeah.
I'm thinking about. Right, boys. Thank you very much for your time. Make sure you like, subscribe, 5-star reviews, all of that stuff. We will be back next week with more tip stories. See how Sam's diet's going on and everything else. Talking about, hopefully, an Everton victory at Stamford Bridge, where we haven't won there for 31 years. Over to you, Davey, and the boys. See you all next week. Bye.